show up on January 6th and get your people to fight the certification. He incited it. If as soon as this had started, President Trump had simply gone onto TV, just logged onto Twitter and said, "Stop the attack," if he had done so with even half as much force as he said, "Stop the steal," how many lives would we have saved?
That was Congressman Joe Neguse, an impeachment manager in the second impeachment trial of the former president, making the case that the very real threat that Capitol Police, lawmakers, and all the staff up at the Capitol faced on January 6th could not and should not go unpunished. Well, today, there's more startling evidence why that's the case. Chilling new video obtained by NBC News from that day shows fallen Capitol Police officer Brian Sicknick being struck with what prosecutors say was chemical spray as a crowd of rioters fight to push through. The video shows Sicknick and other officers washing their eyes out. The video is being used as evidence in court against the rioters, but today it's already another reason to be appalled anew by Republicans who were also in danger that day, but have since largely refused to do anything about it and are back to standing by the big lie. Joining our conversation, Democratic Congressman Joe Neguse of Colorado, member of the House Judiciary Committee. It is a pleasure to get to talk to you on a day with so much in the news. And I want to start right here. I watched every minute of the impeachment trial, and it feels like the arguments you were making that day were maybe difficult for some of the Republicans to ignore then, but now they seem completely emboldened. They're making their pilgrimages down to Mar-a-Lago as Donald Trump basically sends out missive after missive at this appalling faux audit in Arizona. The big lie remains at the intersection of the domestic violent extremism threat, and Republicans seem to have no appetite to push back or disavow it or distance themselves from it. Are you concerned about what that says about the other party, save for Liz Cheney?
It's good to be with you, Nicole. I am. I share your concern. I think you articulated it well. One of the more disturbing trends in the past 100 days since those terrible events of January 6th has been the willingness of so many on the other side of the aisle to obfuscate and try to walk away from those events and from any complicity in what happened on January 6th. I watched the video footage that you just showed. It's harrowing. It's disturbing. It underscores the bravery and the courage of the many Capitol Police officers who saved lives on January 6th and protected those of us who were in the House, as I was, on the House floor, along with so many staff members across the Capitol complex. I worry a great deal that as more time passes from January 6th, the more easy it becomes for folks to become complacent about the real precipice that our country was on that day in terms of our ability to continue functioning as a constitutional republic. And obviously, as you said, there are many folks on the other side of the aisle who would like to see that ambivalence and complacency set in even further.
Well, what do you think undergirds it? Because some of the very same Republicans were beyond aggressive with the threat of radical Islamic terrorism, and they are the other extreme, beyond meek, silent in the face of domestic violent extremism associated with white supremacy.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to speculate as to their rationales, and obviously they've offered a wide variety, many of which are illogical. I would just simply say I think it's important for us to remind them and to remind the country of just how significant that test was for our constitutional republic. And I think that's what President Biden was doing, by the way, last night during the joint address of Congress, when he chose to recognize the fact that we had bounced back from that terrible day, that the transfer of power ultimately came to fruition, and all that we've accomplished in the past 3 months since then. So it's important for us not to forget. It's important for us to keep raising the issue. And of course, it underscores the need for the bipartisan commission that Speaker Pelosi has been calling for the better part of the last 3 months. We've made significant concessions to the Republicans to try to ultimately get them to come to the table in agreeing to this bipartisan commission to investigate the events of January 6th. And of course, they continue to refuse to agree to that effort. And at the end of the day, we're just going to have to keep on pushing.
What is the sticking point? I know Liz Cheney sort of joined the chorus of saying we should look at specifically what led to 1-6 and leave Antifa and other groups on for another day. Is the scope the sticking point?
I believe that is the case. There were, arguments made in good faith around the membership, the composition of the commission. I think those have been largely addressed. Again, we've worked to try to meet Republicans in the middle on this front, meet them halfway. But at this point now, it's clear that there are some on the other side of the aisle who simply want to expand the scope of this commission so large and so broad that it would ultimately undermine the very purpose of the commission in the first place, which is to investigate that terrible insurrection on our nation's capital on January 6th and the various events leading up to it. So I agree with Liz Cheney in that regard and the many Democrats who've spoken up about the need for a 9/11 style commission. And for the life of me, can't understand why so many House Republicans refuse to do the same.
Well, there's been some reporting by Luke Broadwater in the New York Times that there are about a half a dozen House Republicans who've made appearances with and have associations with some of the militia groups that have, since the impeachment trial, been charged in the close, I think, more than 300 cases. We're to expect up to 500 cases. I mean, do you think that they're afraid that some of those associations might be revealed?
It's certainly a possibility that they are worried in that regard. I think that the president highlighting yesterday the threat of domestic terrorism was a really important step for him to take and to do so, to convey to the American people the seriousness of that threat. And it's certainly something that the Congress is taking very seriously. And as you know from the many guests you've had on your program who serve on the Armed Services Committee, the Intelligence Committee, and the variety of the other committees that have jurisdiction, it's something that we're certainly taking serious. And I believe the Department of Justice under Attorney General Garland is taking serious as well.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.